Speaking of great, you know who looked great last night? The Pittsburgh Steelers. They finished a perfect, and I do mean perfect, regular preseason. Went 3-0, routed the Atlanta Falcons 24-0, and their starters played last night. Not the whole game, but, enough. And here's what their starters did in the preseason, Martin. Their starting offense. They had 5 possessions for the starting offense in the 3 games. They scored 5 touchdowns. Their quarterback, Kenny Pickett, last night, 4 for 4, 86 yards, and a couple of really nice dimes. One to George Pickens, one to Deontay Johnson. And, it's unique. Some teams don't play their starters at all. And Mike Tomlin, the coach for the Steelers, was asked if, last night's performance kind of validated him playing his starters in every preseason game. And the Falcons, of course, played their backups last night. First, in typical Mike Tomlin fashion, Martin, he said, I don't need validation. That's perfect, Mike Tomlin. I don't really need validation. Shout out, he's a Kappa. That's how we roll. Kappa Alpha Psi in the house, frat brother.
All right.
You an Alpha, right?
Yeah, sure.
Alpha would have been like, that really helps.
The first and the finest. That's all I have to say.
All right, it's all love for the Alphas, the Qs, the Sigmas, all the frats out there. All right, but he goes on. I think it's difficult to box without sparring. That is the quote from Mike Tomlin. Preseason is an opportunity for us to spar and sharpen our swords for the battle. I'm just going to be real brief before I turn it over to you, Martin. I love it. You know who else plays their players and goes hard in the preseason? Oh, the world champion Kansas City Chiefs.
I love it.
Andy Reid runs the toughest training camps in the league. And he's done it all the way back to Philadelphia, and he's had some pretty good teams, I'd say. All right, 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years, and I think more are coming. So you would think most leagues being copycat leagues that you'd want to copy Andy Reid and Mike Tomlin and not some of these other teams like, Nat Hackett and the Denver Broncos last year. Starters didn't see the field at all in preseason. And we remember how that went. Remember game 1? I mean, they couldn't even they had 3 false starts, 2 delays of games. It was terrible. All right. It was ugly. And to top it off, Martin, teams that didn't play their starters at all last year in the preseason started 3-8. Okay? 3-8. And it really is more like, I don't know if I got my math right, but 1-6, because 2 of the wins came against, teams that neither of them played their starters.
Right.
So I'm sorry. Like, Martin, I'm an old school cat. And I think that like Mike Tomlin said it perfectly. It's hard to box and win the fight if you don't spar. And so I am all on board with Mike Tomlin and Andy Reid, and I think they're going to come out and their teams are going to play well right out the gate. And some of these other teams that rested starters will take, we've heard it. The first month's the preseason. Yeah. Well,
except
that's
it's not
good.
Except it's not.
Get in the hole. Right.
So the preseason is the preseason. You know what I'm saying? The first 3 games that you play of this 20-game season, ostensibly 17 regular, 3 preseason, that's the preseason.
Thank you.
Because once September 11th hits and we're playing game 1, all of a sudden they count. I know, so we talk about how much the preseason doesn't count. Really it's a lot of the people on Twitter and on X. All people who see Michael Pittman Jr. limp off to the sideline yesterday and say, "Oh, don't play starters in preseason." You can get hurt playing football at any step of the way.
Yes. We've seen guys get hurt in practice.
The first day of training
Non-contact.
camp, it's almost always somebody goes down with a non-contact injury.
Joe Burrows.
Because they haven't been running around playing football that whole time. Yep. I'm not saying you got to go out there and play your starters a whole quarter, a whole half, whatever. But I think there is something to the idea that you're going to have a dress rehearsal before the play starts. Right? Do you think that when they're going out to do a musical, Chris, when they're going out to do Chicago, the musical, that they just walk on stage? It's the first time everybody's singing together? No. They run through it a whole bunch. They practice it a whole bunch because when it comes time to it, just like a musical or dance, football is a choreographed sport. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's got to move at the same time. And in order to achieve the goal, in order to get that one gap you need, either offensively or defensively, to make the player stop or get a big gain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Then, when you did this a little bit just a second ago, but Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, they all have what in common? NFL jobs for the last 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Sean Payton prior to retirement from the New Orleans Saints. NFL jobs for over 10 years. And in a league in which 1/3 of the league is looking for a new head coach, 1/3 of the league is on a coach that has probably 5 to 6 years of experience, if that, and then 1/3 of the league has double the experience of everybody else. Why would you not copy the people that continue to win?
Thank you.
It's illogical to me. So like the idea behind, look, yeah, you got joint practices. That's all well and good. But there's something even, I think, to the point, like Robert Saleh was saying in Hard Knocks, Aaron Rodgers is going to start the last preseason game. He's not going to play any meaningful amount of snaps, right? No, of course not. But he's like, look, I want you to hear the Jets fans for the first time. I want you to get dressed in our locker room, run out to the field as a member of the New York Jets prior to when they actually matter. It's the whole point of having a dress rehearsal. And people are like, oh, but what if he gets hurt? Well, so he could get hurt week 1, play 1. Now what? You know, and the game's like, so even if you want to adjust your strategy where you're playing your starters in like the first 2 preseason games so they have a little bit of time to recoup from injury from the 3rd preseason game to the start of the regular season. But there should be a plan in which you are getting your guys prepared to go out there and hit and be hit, because that's what is inevitable in this sport. You are going to hit or be hit.
Have you ever heard that phrase? I'm sure you have. Scared money don't make money.
Of course, Chris, I'm from Detroit.
Well, scared play isn't winning play. You're right. I'm sorry. We all would be devastated if a great player gets injured in the preseason. But you know what? You can't help it if it happens. And it doesn't happen that commonly. I mean, you could get injured doing it. Joe Burrow, we saw him go down. Thankfully, doesn't appear to be too serious, but he's missed the whole preseason with the calf injury. But he was just running. Nobody hit him. And you've got to let guys play. Rob and I talk about it all the time, Martin. In the NBA now, load management has run amok. And guys are hurt more than ever. They load manage the heck out of Kawhi Leonard. I guess he probably needs it. It was one of the few that does probably need it. But he still got hurt in the playoffs. You know, baseball, they are load managing these pitchers to death. And they're still getting hurt. I think they get hurt. This is just the eye test. They appear to be getting hurt more than ever.
Or you know what? At least this. It does not appear that guys are not miraculously not getting hurt. No. You know what I'm saying? It's not like this is end-all, be-all.
You're right. It ain't working, that's for sure. Yeah, even if it's the same as it used to be. That's not gotten any better. It's bad. It's bad. And so I am with Mike Tomlin. Keep it up. And I think the Steelers, they're going to jump on some people early. I think they're going to be good the whole way through. But they are going to jump on teams early because they are in, I won't say midseason form, but they're going to be way ahead of many of the other teams. And the same goes for the Chiefs and the other teams that I think. I'm not saying it's foolproof and, you know, just because a team played their starters a little bit in the preseason, they're going to automatically be the team that didn't. But as I just said, the numbers bear it out. And many of the best coaches in the league, this is what they do. All right.